Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a quick look at Sandbox and see what's going on with that. And obviously, peek over Bitcoin, see what's with that as well. And, obviously, not super happy with Bitcoin right now. It's being a bit of a bug. Obviously, it tries to ramp up, good 2 or 3,000 at a time, selling off for another 2 or 3,000 every few hours. This sporadic behavior is really hurting a lot of coins right now, just based on the fact that there's that fear, uncertainty, and doubt still in the market. We're still in a fear market, but good news is I feel Bitcoin has good potential here based on a couple of reasons. So first of all, we got the 50-day simple moving average on the 4-hour chart. It's been working pretty consistent as a support level. So right now it's kind of getting tested, but for lack of better terms, it's kind of been traveling along that line. So that continues. For example, we'll see the price continue over here, 200 trailing behind, and that would essentially give us that golden cross that would drive the price action higher. That's the ultimate goal. That's why I feel pretty confident that we're going to have this reversal come back around here for Bitcoin. I do feel that the bottom is in at 53,600 roughly when it hit the bottom there. And now we should be able to see some good things. Just know there's a strong amount of volume accumulation at about 61,000, creating a potential resistance there. So I wouldn't expect Bitcoin to shoot straight through that immediately. It'll probably test and reject right around 60,000 once we get there. But the key takeaway here is to close on the one-day candlestick above 58,000. That's the first major milestone we need to hit. But keep in mind also, too, there's a lot of news, a lot of crazy stuff going on right now in the world that's affecting the coin here today, okay? And that trickles down to a lot of other coins like this as well. So just know that. And also, too, I'm not a financial advisor. I just want to throw that out there. So if you're new to the channel, welcome, and thank you for joining me here, of course. But I love teaching people how to trade, and I've been trading for over 15 years, so my goal is to help you become a better, more self-sufficient trader. I think there's a deficiency in knowledge and how to become a good trader, and that I want to hopefully change that. So I do have a trading community if you want to check that out, where we all communicate openly about trades, and I share every single trade that I take with my community too. You can follow with a trading bot if you want. It's just kind of a cool system. But regardless, why don't we go ahead and take a look at the one-day chart and see where we're at here. So you can see kind of a pattern here forming, right? Sharp increase followed by some red days, sharp increase followed by some red days. That's pretty standard here for Sandbox, but if you can kind of tell, there's a pretty strong support level created right around 632. In other words, the price has hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, not in a row, but 5 days over the last, maybe just say 9 trading days, and it cannot pass that point. Right now, the more often you test the support level, the more likely it is to break. There's that sentiment too, don't get me wrong. But it has proven to be a very strong support level there. And I'm willing to guess that we're going to probably see a pretty decent amount of volume accumulation in that area. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here. We can see a strong amount of volume right around $7.05. Okay, so that is good because you want to have a volume accumulation higher than the price action in a couple ways, right? The reason why it's beneficial is because you can tell a lot of people have their position open there. And the likelihood of the price coming away from that is lower. But there's also the inverse as well, where it can be considered to be a resistance level. And that could also, I wouldn't say work adversely, but that could be the reason why it can't pass that plane, right? There's a few, I guess, schools of thought there. Anyways, that's just some kind of arbitrary. That's not necessarily a big factor, but that does influence a little bit, right? Now, looking at the one-day chart for the RSI, we're back under 70, which is perfectly fine. We kind of like to see that in a sense because it was on the overextended side anyways. Now it's getting into the range where, it's not really considered to be overbought any longer, right? And that will influence people to want to probably add to their positions. We do have a divergence here on the MACD, of course, just telling us that in the big picture, we have a bearish sentiment that is looming and essentially going to take place here soon, okay? Again, these are not bad things. It just kind of is what it is, right? And if we look at the 4-hour chart, that's really going to give us the most effective moving averages and essentially some key indicators here. And look at this. This is interesting. The price went right up to the 50-day simple moving average and just rejected right off of it. So that, keep in mind, that will work as a resistance level here moving forward. There's a good chance we can break through it, of course, with this momentous trend here. Because we probably just got a reset on TD sequential. There we go. And this is a good sign here. I try to look at the positive in this sense, based on the fact that we reached a 9, which essentially tells us that we've had this exhaustive state. So for the last 36 hours, we've had nothing but bearish sentiment. Now it's time to turn around, right? We've got a 1 here, for example. So hypothetically, we've got 8 more 4-hour candlesticks left to get that momentum pushing higher. So all good things there, right? So in other words, we're kind of, for lack of better terms, at the tentative bottom, and the price should continue to increase from here. Will it? There's no guarantees. No, TD sequential is 100%. But it does tell us that we had this state here of exhaustion, and the price only came down so far until it can bounce back. So it's kind of reaching this support zone here between 574 and 632. Okay, so it's a nice little support channel there for Sandbox. So while we're still rejecting off that resistance level created by the 50-day simple moving average, we have other good things going for us in that sense. We have some momentum that we can start taking to the upside now that the bears have taken their profits, right? The bears are effectively exhausted, and potentially the bulls time to play, if that makes any sense. All right, so that's kind of what that's looking at. And we're also just below 50 on the RSI. So keep in mind too, 50 on the RSI can work as a resistance level. That is probably close or synonymous to $6.80. So 680 is probably a pretty strong resistance in that sense. You can tell it's been rejected twice now already in the last 24, 48 hours. So all good there. And then keep in mind, this is potential. It's not official, but we should be able to see a MACD convergence in the near future if this push to the upside can continue. So in other words, we get that 1 to become a 2, 3, 4, and we count upwards, we'll see a MACD convergence. And that could imply that the 1 hour chart for the Ichimoku cloud, we might see a reversal soon. All right, so it's too early to tell. Of course, lagging span hasn't cleared the price action. The baseline is still above the conversion line, and we're not above the cloud yet. So the key takeaway here is to break that resistance plane of $6.80 in the near future, or if nothing else, go sideways for about 5 to 10 hours, and then at this point, reassess and see where the lagging span is at. And obviously the baseline is below the conversion line here, that would be probably a good consideration for an entry point, right? Or to add to your position, dollar cost average, whatever the case is, depends on your big picture, of course, but that's essentially going to be what we're looking for. Furthermore, let's take a look at TD sequential here and just kind of look. We're at a 5 right now on a 1 hour chart. So we have roughly 4 more hours left of bullish momentum on the short term to get to where we need to go. So hopefully at this next little push here, this little, when we can kind of continue upwards, we'll be able to break the resistance point of 680, close above that for just say 4 to 8 hours, consolidate, get a reset, and then continue to the upside. That'd be ultimately what we want to look for and see. So I think, depending on what happens in the next few hours, we'll essentially determine the state of play here for Sand. And again, I don't feel terrible about any of this. I still think Sandbox's bottom is 574, and we should only see an increase from there. We just have to understand though that the price for Sandbox increased so dramatically fast that this state of consolidation is completely normal. It's a little more exaggerated based on Bitcoin's behavior recently, but it's still very much viable for the price to continue to increase from here. So we take a look, just really quick to touch on this here. TD sequential told us we reached a state of exhaustion at $4.40. It went as high as $8.52 not 5 days later. Okay, so you got to understand that didn't have enough cooling off period for it to increase this high, which is why we're experiencing what we're experiencing now. Okay, so that's just something to understand and to note. When coins become exhausted, for lack of better terms, especially on the one-day chart, you cannot be surprised when we have a state of consolidation for 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks before it legs up again, right? It may even continue to progress downwards closer to 570, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to be able to see 632 as the likely bottom, considering the fact that it cannot cross that plane on the one-day chart just yet. All right, so all good things here for Sandbox. I do like the way it's shaping up. Keep in mind too, we also have this nice little pattern here forming as well, where we should expect to see a price break to the upside. Okay, so again, there's no guarantees on that, but typically when you see a type of pattern of this nature, it has a tendency of breaking the upside more often than it does to the downside. So again, I'm still bullish on Sandbox regardless of the last 4 trading days being very red. Okay, so hopefully you found benefit here, of course. We'll go ahead and take another look at this again tomorrow. Thanks again for your patience and, of course, your continued support. That goes for my patrons too. I greatly and deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.